What's up everyone, D.dot here, and this video I just want to start off say thank you guys. We're at 40 subs right now, and that's a really great accomplishment at this point. So I'm just announcing to you guys that when we hit the milestone of 50, I do have some things planned for you guys. I know I have two different communities that I cater to, my Clash community and my Battle Bay community. So I'll be doing something for both of those, but stay tuned for that when we hit 50 subs. So that's when I'll announce that. So thank you guys. Thank you guys for the support, the watch time, the likes, the views, everything. Alright, moving on there. Today, this video is going to be a little different. It's just going to be discussing the meta, kind of currently where it is. They just announced the balance changes today, so we'll be going over that and see some of the changes that we're going to see on within the game. So this video just there's gonna be gameplay that's playing in the background right now. Just enjoy the content, my commentary, you know, sit back, whatever. So let's jump right into it. So the stats that I have for these cards, it's on Stats Royale. If you guys don't know, I'll link that in the bottom of the description. But basically what it is, it's you're able to see the stats of the cards, top ladder decks, the win percentage, the average wins, some tournament decks, the tournament percentages in cards. You're able to even look into your own profile and see your own stats, your wins, your losses, your crowns, etc., etc. It's a really good tool to use, so I highly recommend you guys check it out. So at least right now, before the balance changes were announced, currently pretty much the meta consists of Goblin Gang, basically like those bait decks, and then when Night Witch was released, her percentage rate went crazy, especially for how she was initially released. She's pretty much overpowered for what she's able to do, because she has two functions. She's a very good runner, so she's able to take out cards defensively and have a strong counter push coming. She's able to swarm, so say in those golem beatdown decks with Night Witch, say like some of them run minions and they run Night Witch, so whenever they drop down the golem and they're going down for their push, when they have Night Witch supporting and they drop minions down too, and those decks, most of them, they run lightning as well, so that basically leaves whoever uses Inferno Tower, that leaves it basically useless. So to be able, her ability to swarm and to swarm upon death was crazy. So that's why the meta just instantly shifted towards her. And for NATO, for right here, at least within Legendary Arena, is 19%, which is very high. It took a very long time for people to realize that Tornado was a very good card. It was, let's say, what, at least 4 months, 4 or 5 months. But now that it is, pretty much everybody's running it, even in Arena 10, because most cards, everyone uses the building point from Legendary Arena, because everyone copies each other in this game. Then the meta for Legendary Arena is straight Golem Lightning with arrows. The Three Musketeer bait decks, Lava Loon is still does pretty well. Surprisingly enough, whenever you go down to Hog Mountain, because I know a lot of my viewers, they're not necessarily up to Legendary Arena, the one that takes the first spot is Lava Loon. So with that being said, it's still very relevant down there. The reason why you don't see it as much up here, or even within the top 200, is because most people know how to counter Lava Loon now, so it's not too big of an issue. However, down there in the lower arenas, Lava Loon is still pretty difficult to figure out how to counter that push. Since everyone's running Tornado now, even within all the other arenas aside from Legendary Arena, within the ladder, it's already up to 21%. So say within the last, say for example, for 100 matches, you're going to see Tornado 21 times. Which is crazy because Tornado is very good. However, it has a high ceiling to learn how to use it. So that means even though that these players are in Arena 10 that are using Tornado because they see higher level players using it, it doesn't mean that they see how or know how to use it. And Tornado is a high risk, high reward card. So if you know what you're doing, you'll be able to stop a lot of pushes, but if not, then you get punished severely for using that 3 elixir. However, with Tornado in the meta, when it moved in, it was last season. It started at I think midway through when the top players started using Tornado, and then some people started using it down throughout the trophy ranges. But it really took off when those hog NATO decks started coming up, and the one that's really popular right now is the hog XE Tornado deck, which I believe it has a 44% usage rate throughout the legendary arena. So it's a very popular deck right now. However, with Tornado, with it being in the meta right now, it does counter more of those beatdown decks when paired with the right counters. It counters bait, but not as hard as Log does. Also, with Tornado being in the meta, it crippled Lava Loon, so that's why you don't see as much Lava Loon right now. So Tornado was the reason for the drop rate of Lava Loon. However, now that Tornado is within the meta, that actually gave siege decks more of a advantage, since Tornado doesn't affect siege buildings, only the support troops, and oftentimes you're not going to use Tornado for some of the support troops. That's what they're for. It's not like you're bunching up the wing condition. So it makes Tornado more of a dead card sometimes, that you get little value from it when you go against a siege matchup. But I know for you guys, I'm sure a lot of you guys still go against Royal Giant, and just how difficult that is because of the over leveling. However, Royal Giant, its usage rate is only at 11%, and I was shocked when I saw that too. It was not that high, and because it's the nerf that happened last time with it, with the 1 second deploy time, so you weren't able to drop it right in the pocket, or you're not able to drop it right at the bridge and expect to get free damage. And people still use it, of course, but for the usage rate, it's only 11%. So it's not too big of a deal to deal with those type of decks, or that card, because in challenges, most cards, pretty much everybody's going to have the tourney cap levels, and in ladder, that's not the case. So one of the things you can do to compensate that is to bring more DPS, or you can run a common win condition yourself. So you can overlevel that, and you'll be in the even playing field against those type of players, plus wherever you are in that trophy range. So one thing to note about that, however, Royal Giant is not a problem, especially after it's been nerfed to the ground, because the usage rate for Royal Giant in challenges and tourneys is only 2%. So I definitely agree with that. For Night Witch, it's crazy. For her usage rate is about 17%. So it would be a lot higher if it wasn't a legendary card and everyone had access to it. It would probably be one of the top 5 cards, which is within 30% to use. And as we all know why, she provides so much value. She swarms very well. She has that death spawn for the bats, which their DPS is crazy as well. It's just the equivalent to skeletons but flying. So that explains why she's that high in the usage rate. However, as you guys know, that's kind of like the staple of where the meta is right. One thing I wanted to note too before I jump to another topic was the elite barbarians. I know you guys see that very well, or quite a bit, than most other players, at least up here in Legendary Arena. The only reason why elite barbs are very strong is the same reason for the Royal Giant, which is a common win condition. However, countering elite barbarians is a lot easier to counter than, say, the Royal Giant, because with the elite barbarians there's a lot more counters to it, because it's not a tank, it's just a very strong runner. So that's why it's a lot easier to counter. However, in the players that are not in Arena 10 or the beginning of Legendary Arena and down below that, it's a little more difficult for them to counter it, because they don't really know how to counter it. And from what I've seen is that they run the same decks over and over and over again, so they don't have that experience of at least knowing how to be versatile when it comes to using different cards and different decks and everything that's like that. And for elite barbarians, they are countered by a string of cards. So say for example like Knight and Ice Spirit, if they're the same level, Knight and Fire, Valkyrie and Fire Spirits, Valkyrie and Ice Spirits, Bowler, Skeletons, Skarmy, Tombstone, Goblin Gang, Minions and Ice Spirit with Skeletons, just to name a few. That's how you counter the elite barbarians, is with a string of cards. However, for the elite barbarians being over leveled, going against their cards, that's already a disadvantage for those players. And for not knowing how to use different cards, that's also going against them as well. However, the usage rate for elite barbarians are higher than Royal Giant, with it being about 20% and 16% on ladder. However, I'll let you guys know, whenever you see these stats, always go by the tournament standard instead of the ladder standard, because the ladder on Stats Royale only goes on, it's only taken from Legendary Arena and not throughout the entire game as the tournament is. The tournament standard is for throughout the entire game, so that gives you a better picture of the entire game instead of just the Legendary Arena, because Arena 11, they have a separate meta, and the top 200 have their own meta separate from everybody else. So just to keep that in mind. So as you guys know, the balance changes were announced today, and we'll just quickly recap everything. It's Night Witch. They spawn 3 bats instead of 4. Bat spawn speed to 6 seconds from 5 seconds, and the initial bats when they spawn is going to be slower, so there'll be a delay when Night Witch is deployed. Tornado, Poison, Heal. Multiples of the same spell will stack. Tornado, duration from 2.5 seconds from 3 seconds. Log, the range 11.1 from 11.6. Goblin Gang, they're reducing the Spear Goblin count down to 2. Skeletons down to 3 skeletons instead of 4. Bandit, hit points 4%. The dash initiates quicker. Inferno Dragon, hit points up 7% and retargets 0.2 seconds quicker, which hit points added 5%. Area damage radius plus 10%. Spawn speed 7 seconds from 7.5, and the initial skeletons spawn slower just to match with the Night Witch. Clone, faster cloning effect. Battle Ram, the damage that destroys the ram won't affect the barbarians, and the bats, the spawn is 4 instead of 5 for whenever that card releases. So with seeing this, I definitely agree with the changes. I agree that Night Witch needed to be nerfed. She was way too much value, overpowered for 4 elixir, tornado, poison, heal. I don't know how that's going to necessarily work when you're in a stack. The only thing that came to mind when I saw was the heal spell, maybe. Tornado definitely needed the nerf. But it's definitely welcome, especially for the top players when they know how to use Tornado in pretty much every scenario. Log, they decreased the range from 11.1 to 11.6. So I believe, say like that scenario where your opponent drops the Goblin Barrel with the Princess at the bridge, whenever you log, it will take out the Goblin Barrel, but it won't take out the Princess. So that does give a buff to the bait archetype. However, I'm hoping that they fix the bug to where you can't place log over buildings. So that'll help out elixir collectors, that'll help out the siege decks, and so on and so forth. Anything building. With Goblin Gang, when they're decreasing the spear goblin count from 2 instead of 3, I'm interested to see how that'll change at least the value that Goblin Gang brings. They definitely need a nerf. Their percentage rate is like 30 something percent for being used throughout Arena 11. So nerfing the Goblin Gang and the amount of value that they bring is definitely needed for them. Skeletons count to 3 instead of 4. I definitely agree that they needed the nerf here. However, going from the count from 4 to 3, now skeletons don't provide the value that they used to. Skeletons are no longer relevant, so you'll definitely see them drop out of the meta. When they have 3 skeletons, they can't do the same things that 4 skeletons can do, where they can counter Musketeer, where they can take out miners faster, where they can actually take out the hog with minimal swings, where they can counter knight, where they can kite minions, minion horde, the bats, where they can counter e-wizard. Just all those interactions that provide +1, +2, sometimes +3 value. That's where Supercell is nerfing them again. I agree, however, you'll definitely see skeletons move out of the meta really quick. And we may see Ice Spirit come back for those initial decks instead of running skeletons, so that way they can still cycle faster for 1 elixir and still get a good amount of value for that 1 elixir. Bandit, hit points +4%, and the damage, or the dash, I'm interested to see what decks come about. Bandit is one of those assassin type-esque cards, so say a golem's coming down your lane and it's being targeted by everything, and the bandit is behind the golem. The bandit starts dashing and taking out all of the support troops that are aiming at the golem instead. So I'm interested to see what bandit, see if she becomes relevant or there's something viable with her to use within a deck or within the meta, really. Inferno Dragon, let's see. I'm interested to see. Same thing with Inferno Dragon. The part that definitely stands out is the retarget, to where it's 0.2 seconds faster. As you guys know, it's very easy to distract the Inferno Dragon. As long as you distract the Inferno Dragon, it's really not going to get any damage at all to your tower. So having that retarget can allow it to take out those small swarm troops, distract it longer. So I'm interested to see if Inferno Dragon can make some type of debut, because ever since its release, it hasn't been in the meta at all. We've seen it in some of the air effect decks before, but that's pretty much it. Which, with all the buffs that she's been given throughout the last 6, 7, 8 months, I'm interested to see However, the thing that holds Witch back is that it dies to lightning, and everything else that's relevant in the meta as a support troop doesn't die to lightning. The only example or the exception from that is like Musketeer or the Night Witch, where they provide insane value for being more than just a support troop. So I'm interested to see there. We just have to wait and see. Clone, there's not much to say here. Clone is not a good spell. It may be good in 2v2 and some of those challenges that certain players do when they spawn stuff down. Battle Ram, I think it's a nice buff to the Battle Ram. Maybe this is initially what the Battle Ram was supposed to be, instead of that extra percentage where they get hit, or the Barbarians. Or the Battle Ram is still viable right now in the meta, so we may see the Battle Ram being used on its own at least a little more, just a little bit more than what we're seeing right now. Similar to like Hog, where Hog has their own archetype or their own, it's a win condition in its own. It can stand out on its own. So we'll see with the Battle Ram. It's welcomed. However, it's already relevant in the meta. In Bats, when it's count down to 4 instead of 5, I definitely agree with that, because Bats, they already counter minions, if you guys seen some of the interactions. So the fact that Bats counter minions means that you can sub out Bats, or sub out minions now instead of Bats. And just another thing to block the Inferno Tower for those beatdown decks. So that's pretty much it here for at least some of my thoughts on the meta. This is a little bit, like I was saying before, this is a little bit different for the videos that I do. This is one of those things where I just wanted to see, just having me talk and expressing some of my thoughts and stuff like that. Let me know if you guys enjoy that type of thing. Leave a like on it so I know, maybe like, so I can start doing some more videos on it or not. But just let me know, guys. And thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.